As the seeds of life grow, a genetic makeup forms, outlining the very blueprint of our being. This blueprint marks the start of a long and arduous journey that we call human existence. From the moment we're brought into the world, our journey begins, whose purpose we may never be able to fully comprehend. The point of life lies in ambiguity. Many of us are still trying to understand what it truly means to live through the human experience. We're born, we go through the stages of life as a newborn, traversing through the passage of time into infancy, then childhood, to adolescence as teenagers, to young adults in university, then finally find ourselves traversing the turbulent waves of adulthood, in hopes to finding that purpose we've yearned for our entire lives, and to reach the end of the tunnel to our seniority, relaxing in a cozy home surrounded by multiple generations of the family we've come from and have created. In the end, once we've reached the last stretch of our lives, we succumb to the elements and pass on with a legacy left behind. That's the journey of life as I imagine it to be. It's honestly a beautiful thing, and the way we view it so philosophically is what really enhances the fulfillment of life. Though it's not always a smooth time. The journey of life is like a road, and like any road, it has some rough or unpaved patches. In the context of life, often the earlier stages of the human experience is held in common regard as the easiest, when times were simple and less stressful. Stages of our infancy, childhood, and adolescence is where we commonly hold in high regard as the best time of our lives. It's a time where we're caught up in the innocence of youth, the bursts of energy to do anything and everything, the age of exploration, and the seemingly limitless amount of time on our hands. Whether it's the late night gaming with the boys, the fun things we do during summer vacation, or binging an entire anime overnight, our youth certainly sounds like the pinnacle of life. And once that's all over, when we come of age, when we start having to grow up and take on more responsibilities, we're caught in between a rock and a hard place. Having spent most of our lives up until that point in absolute bliss, we're now thrusted into the seemingly unforgiving world of adulthood. Piles upon piles of responsibilities just to support oneself. It certainly is difficult. We fall into the cycle of repetition where we have bills to pay, whether it's rent, mortgage, or debt. We work to accommodate it, going in every morning, then coming back in the evening, at home to relax, and then at nightfall, we go to bed, rinse and repeat. When we look at it from that perspective, adulthood really is bland, uninteresting, or downright stressful. Many of us can relate to this, myself included. The anxiety of not knowing whether you'll be able to pay your bills, the habitual routine at work, and the time left in the day to do what you want, but you're too tired to do anything. Adulthood is just full of chores, and is there really any meaning to it? As a matter of fact, in spite of those hardships, I believe there is meaning. One of the many reasons we often find adulthood stressful and relentless is because how different it is from adolescence. In a way, it's like a romanticization of youth. Comparing adult life to our youth, it's clear which one we seem more fond of. In a time when we are so carefree and have close to no responsibility, it's like being on an extended vacation. Now, as a working adult, looking back on my life even as recent as a year ago when I was still in university, to way back to when I could barely walk, there have been so many memories that have become meaningful for me, and thinking about them really puts a smile on my face. A part of it has to do with our nostalgia, a yearning for the past to return to those fun times. When we look at it from that perspective, it's not even a competition. But why is that the case? Yes, we can point to the obvious that the responsibility that comes with adulthood plays a major role. However, I think it partially involves the nature of our memories. When we reflect on memories that we have, we idealize them through rose-tinted glasses. Our memories have the ability to distort time, where we remember the joy of the moment, but forget any pain we may have experienced. In fact, I think it's very natural. In any stage of life we're at, we seem to have a preference for the past, or at least the joy we remember thereof. Our memories really are powerful when it comes to this type of thing. In a way, it's quite poetic. If in doubt, when adulthood becomes too stressful, we always have these moments tucked away to reminisce and use as motivation to push on. But that also begs the question, is youth really better, or are we simply choosing to put on these rose-tinted glasses? Because when we take off those rose-tinted glasses and face the present, adulthood reveals itself as something far more complicated. Growing up, we come into adulthood with expectations placed onto us, whether it's our parents holding us to a high regard, shouldering the responsibility of expectations they have for us to continue their legacy, or ones that society places on us. Perhaps it's the realization that you must support those who aren't yourself, such as starting a family, becoming a parent, and shouldering tons of responsibility and sacrificing your time, effort, and energy for them. Entering the world of adulthood, we start venturing out from what's familiar, delving into uncharted territory that's as turbulent as high winds rushing past an airplane's engine. We must now exchange time, money, and effort in order to sustain ourselves in a world that becomes ever expensive to live in. Coupled with a multitude of external factors, it's difficult to truly traverse the high seas of adulthood. The journey across this vast ocean with months or even years out at sea in hopes to find land can be lonely. We feel as though the world forces itself onto us, causing us to spend more of our time and energy. It causes us to lose ourselves in isolation. We spend less time with those whom we used to be with all the time. Everyone is busy now. The once vibrant group chat that our phones used to ping notifications from has become a deserted island. With the passage of time, our passions slowly fade away, our energy depletes, and time just becomes something stressful to think about. Do I have time? What's the time? Or I don't have time for this. In the midst of it all, it's increasingly difficult for us to find something meaningful to latch our existence to. What is it that truly fulfills us? What's the point of existence? Why are we here only just to be lost at sea? These are all valid questions we want answers to, questions that inevitably lead us to pursue further in uncovering the truth. And while growing up may feel empty, maybe it challenges us to uncover our truth and find meaning in our lives. Although what we do in adulthood may seem like chores, that constitutes a portion of what it means to be an adult. There are other things that add meaning to what we do and create a grander outlook on life. When we work, yes, we do it out of necessity to put food on the table and pay for the bills, but there can be another rationale for it. We may have a goal we want to achieve. In order to reach it, we have to work. We do things that bring us closer to that goal, and by that very essence, it gives us a hint of purpose. We find meaning on that path to discovery, and once we reach it, we express our pride. That effort we've put into it was not in vain. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Adulthood may have rough edges, but as long as we have a goal in mind, somewhere we want to be in life, that's really all that matters. Meaning as an adult doesn't necessarily need to come from grand schemes, it can come from the little things. This can be something like a routine, something like making coffee in the morning, taking the time to sift through the beans, grinding them, putting it in the maker, then pouring out a cup. It's almost therapeutic. What seems like a normal cup of coffee ignites a spark within us. We start experimenting, trying different combinations, making different types of coffees, develop an interest in coffee essentials, and tasting exotic flavors. When we put our minds to something, a routine can become a passion. However, the stress that comes from adulting, we sometimes put aside our passions, yet it's precisely in these moments of stress that we need to hold tighter to the things that make us feel alive. We must always remember our connections, our relationship to others. Adulthood may feel isolating because we're busy worrying about external issues, but part of what gives it meaning is perseverance. Take, for example, someone who's married and has children. They must find a means to provide for the family they've created, and inevitably, that means to sacrifice. I believe there is immense meaning and fulfillment to sacrificing your time, money, and effort, the blood, sweat, and tears that you shed in order to support people other than yourself. That responsibility and the stakes we hold keeps us grounded and disciplines us to act in the best interests of our children. The greatest joy in life is by virtue of sacrifice, envisioning a future where those you support will be in a better place than where you are at right now. It's about leaving a legacy, no matter how big or small. For someone like myself, I'm not a parent. I'm only a young adult who just got thrown into the world of adulthood. But I have a burning desire to one day be a father. There is plenty of joy and happiness in fantasizing a future with my partner, raising a family under the pretense of sacrifice and a greater purpose. With this in mind, I have goals. Goals to start a fulfilling career, make enough to sustain myself, to be able to own a home, be a provider, and ultimately sacrifice my time, interests, and effort for my future children, just like the way my parents did for me. But that's not just the only option to find fulfillment in our adult life. If we start appreciating what's in front of us and accepting certain realities, we can gain inner peace. That inner peace is what makes us content. We don't always have to want, we can always be. Often we feel lost in the high seas because we struggle to keep a healthy mind in the midst of everything. If we take a walk, touch some grass, and live in the moment, we soon realize that there's just so much to appreciate about life. Perhaps we look into religion, adopting a more virtuous way of life that leads to long-term fulfillment. Maybe we partake in sports on the weekends, going out with friends, or even con-hop to all your favorite conventions or events near you. If we want meaning in the high seas of adulthood, we must not forget our passions, interests, goals, and relationships. But at the end of the day, fulfillment looks different for different people. The moral of the story is, the arduous journey of adulting is one of exploration, to explore life in spite of the adversity, in order to discover a greater purpose. That's what we often overlook. The ongoing search for meaning in a bubble that keeps us tunnel-visioned. Circling back to the journey of life, it starts to take on a deeper meaning now. Life isn't just about going through stages for the sake of it, it's about growth. Every step we take, from these carefree days of youth to the harder, more demanding seasons of adulthood, shapes who we become. And I think that's where the real beauty lies. It's not avoiding the struggles or wishing we could go back, it's how we grow from them. Each challenge, each sacrifice, each small win we experience as adults, they all build up over time. That's what creates our legacy. Not some grand event, but the little choices we make every day, the effort we put in at work, the relationships we nurture, and the passions we hold on to even when life gets busy. And when we look at it that way, adulthood isn't just this endless cycle of stress, it becomes a continuation of the journey. It's our turn to create, to build, to give back, and to pave the way for those who come after us. Whether it's through starting a family, supporting our friends, contributing to our community, or even just becoming the kind person we're proud of, that's all part of leaving something meaningful behind. So while the road of adulthood can feel rough at times, it's also where we find deeper purpose. It's where we grow, where we struggle, and where we push forward, and through that, we continue the human experience, and not just for ourselves, but for the generations that come after us. Adulthood, despite its struggles, offers us a chance to define our own purpose. It's easy to get lost in the grind and feel like we're going through the motions, but it's in these moments that we discover what really matters. Life isn't just about surviving, it's about growing, learning, and building something that lasts. Whether it's a career, relationships, or passions, it's the small, everyday decisions that make all the difference. In the end, adulthood isn't just a series of challenges, it's a canvas where we get to create our own story, one that reflects our growth, our sacrifices, and the people we choose to be. And maybe that's the real journey, finding fulfillment in the process, no matter how messy or imperfect it may be.